Hi everyone, it's Amanda here. I want to welcome and thank you to my webinar today called Get More Energy, Lose Weight and Heal Your Body for Life. I also want to acknowledge that you've taken a good time out of your day to attend this webinar, and I want to thank you and acknowledge that you're here to learn about your health and to hopefully be really inspired to do something from today. So without further ado, I'd like to turn me off and we'll get straight into the webinar. Oops. There we go. So here I am as the presenter of this webinar with my wonderful daily celery juice, which I'm going to talk more about as we go along. So who am I? Well, I am a food as medicine and personal lifestyle practitioner, and I'm a certified health coach and full body systems graduate. That means I've got a full understanding of the body's systems in their anatomy, physiology, and function. So I'm also the author of my book called Powered by Health and a speaker and presenter. I use the healing modalities of both functional nutrition, which is really the food as medicine, and also those methods and protocols of Anthony William, who's the medical medium. I am a Winston Churchill Fellow, and that's my work that I've done before to assist the First Nations of Australia to really develop their own lives and their lifestyles in this country. So I'm a member of a global practitioner group, and within that group we've all worked together with Anthony William over the past few years to learn directly from him in that group. So I have some good knowledge behind me around his methods. Okay, my promise to you today is that you can improve, heal and recover, and you can actually transform your health and life when you know what the key principles are, which we'll be going through, and that those ones, that they lead to wellness, and that you follow a proven method that will actually take you there. So that's pretty straightforward. Now, why do I do the healing and the wellness work that I do? Well, a little bit about me. I had two major health crashes in my life because I was a driven overachiever. Not a high achiever, but an overachiever. So I had this autoimmune diagnosis in 2009, which was triggered because of the way that I lived with stress and as an overachiever, and how that suppressed my immune system, and then other things created an autoimmune diagnosis. So that was Hashimoto's thyroiditis. So doctors, specialists, naturopaths, acupuncturists, I had them all working on me, but they kept me in a kind of a nicely managed situation, but it was not healing. I was still dependent on medication, and my body had not healed fully. So in 2012, I was sort of well enough to go back to work, and well, I hadn't stopped working really, but to keep working. And I got on another job, and a really high-powered job, and so I had another crash because I hadn't learned. I needed two crashes. So it's a bit embarrassing, but that's actually what happened. So there were further symptoms, there were new diseases, there was conditions, there was depression, there was anxiety, and I was actually out of work then for 3 years, so it was worse. I couldn't find anybody to help me, and in my darkest hours, I kind of figured that maybe I had to become the person that I really needed. And so I did. I studied, I experimented, I slowly healed, and I got to understand my physical and emotional journey. And I used what I had behind me, which was 18 years of meditation and personal growth. So that was my way of getting through this. I also spent a lot of time in nature, and my own behaviour change has helped me to develop this business that I have now, which is helping people to heal. And I use all of the experience that I applied to myself, as well as everything that I've studied. So today, this is what you're going to learn. You're going to be able to learn how to create and keep consistent energy in your life. You're going to learn how to lose that mysterious weight that just comes on and keeps coming on. And you're going to learn how you can keep it off. And you're going to learn the root cause of many common conditions. And this will become clear what that is and how you can actually heal your whole body by understanding the root causes and the way to use specific foods. So if you're here, it's because you're either a high achieving person who's dealing with a lot of stress, or maybe you've got a job where you travel a lot, and that means that it's hard for you to get control of your health and wellness, or that you're just really concerned about your health, and maybe you've also got a lot of stress like I had that leads to certain illnesses. Maybe you have an autoimmune or another condition that you've been diagnosed with, and maybe you're just sick of all those fad diets and those trendy traps, and you just really want to learn more about how you can take control of your health. And so it's really for people also who are just seeking a lifelong way of looking after themselves. So you can see that I've probably got a few different kinds of people here on this particular webinar. Okay, so in the last few years, I've been able to heal myself and to help others of very serious conditions. And here's a couple of examples. Susan here, she had multiple sclerosis, MS, and that's a neurological illness, which is very, very serious. And she came to me in a very committed way, and she was really serious about needing help to actually reverse her MS. And so we got to work and we changed a number of things in her diet, and she was able to lose weight, which was one of the things, probably the least important, but that happened. And she also managed to reverse her MS, which was occurring in her body as blindness in one eye and complete unuse of one leg through muscle not working in her leg. So it took us 3 months to actually do that, which is a short period of time. We got onto it, and she was very highly committed, and she did everything that we discussed that she would do. And she was absolutely a brilliant client who managed to achieve that in 3 months' time. And Susan was able to return to work fully and know that, she was able to earn her income and to be able to function properly and change her life. Also there we've got Michelle. Michelle had very serious asthma. She couldn't smell and she wanted to lose some weight. She had no sense of smell. So in 3 months we managed to get that back and for her to lose that weight and really radically reduce her asthma. So there you go. That's a few people's testimonials there. So now we're going to go straight into getting sorted to be here and not be anywhere else. So I want you to focus and immerse yourself, and if you don't, you're not going to learn much. So no multitasking, and let's just stay with me and go deep, and you'll get the most out of this. And if you want to take notes and be open to learning new things, that's fantastic. So before we go further, let's just get ourselves comfortable and take 3 deep breaths. So get comfy in your chair with your back straight and just nice and relaxed. Are you ready? Let's go. Okay, so what we're doing there is we've oxygenated the body, and you can tell I've slowed down a little bit, and that's a good thing. That's a relaxation and an oxygenation process. You can do that anytime if you're feeling stressed. I wasn't stressed, but I was, high energy, and now I'm high energy and very relaxed. So this webinar will be, I think, 60 minutes in total. I don't think it'll go over that, which is hopefully good for you. And what we're going to do is we're going to explore the principles and some strategy and specific information that you can take away about health and wellness, and the 3 topics that I talked about: getting your energy back, losing weight, and healing your body. There'll be a time for feedback where you can give me some feedback on what you've learned and what's important to you. And then I will also be towards the end for a short period of time offering you more information and about my work and my programs. So I'm just letting you know up front, I will be doing that right at the end of the webinar. And for those of you that are happy to just get some value from what we're doing today and take that and run with it, that's fabulous. And then if you know that you may want to work with someone like me to give you a lot of support and guidance, then I do offer a 45-minute complimentary health review, and I'm just making that known to you today, that is not that is very much no obligation, and you get to learn more about your health and also see how I work. Okay, so that's there. You can click on it anytime. All right, so in life and concerning health, there always seems to be these things called unwanted dilemmas. They're the things that keep us struggling and not moving forward with our health. So what are they? Well, one of them is about concerned. We become concerned about why we are putting on weight for no reason at all. So it's very, very stressful when that happens because you cannot understand what's going on. One of the second thing is that we don't know why we're so exhausted. So perhaps we're waking up, we're feeling really exhausted, we're getting exhausted through the day, and we actually don't understand what's going on. We can be stressed and chasing our own tail a lot. So that is something that we can just get into a cycle of, because stress is very addictive. And once we're in that cycle, we can just keep on be doing that and not really seeing what's going on and, intervening and stopping that stress. Maybe we're struggling because we've just got some tests at the doctors and it shows that we have an autoimmune disease or some other disease. And maybe I'm freaking out, you're freaking out. Maybe that's what's happening and we're struggling with this. Maybe we're feeling just down, unmotivated and not oneself. And, that's confusing. What's going on? We're not really sure. Maybe we just seem to be getting sick a lot more these days, the immune system is not what it should be and we just keep catching viruses and really getting run down. And that's confusing. And what do we do about that? Maybe we're just stuck and we don't know what to do with known conditions or knowing that there's something wrong, but we just don't know what to do with it. So if you're now there and you've got the chat box in front of you, just press on the chat box and you can pop any numbers there, or you can go all or some. You can put the numbers in to show me what you might relate to there. Or if it's something different, you can type that in as well. Great. Love to hear from you. Thank you. Okay, so what are the consequences of these dilemmas? So one of them is that we sit on the fence while we keep gaining weight. We just sit there thinking, well, something's got to change. Maybe it's that we go to the doctor and the tests say that we're okay, but we're not. We know we're not feeling right. We know there's something underlying going on. So that's a consequence. We're just not sure what we're going to do. Maybe the stress continues and we build up more pressure in our life and the adrenals and the energy. Our energy just goes right down. I can hear some of you might be nodding right now because this is a very, very common one, this one here. Okay, so maybe the diagnosis means that we have to take medication, but it's not true healing, like what happened to me. Maybe we're just spending more dollars and time on programs, diets, doctors, specialists, and yet we're not improving. Maybe we're not getting anywhere. Maybe we're getting sick more and that starts to impact our work or our job. And we're really, really worried and quite anxious now about that fact. Maybe things just worsen and you're not clear about how to get help. So Once again, if any of those make sense to you, no need to say anything, but just remember that there is a prize beyond this, beyond these consequences. And the prize is to start to imagine a life where you're completely well, have abundant energy, no or little stress, and great things are happening. You're resilient and highly productive, and your behaviour is completely changed to living healthily and according to your body. All of the current problems that you've got are just a dim memory. Okay, so moving on. Here is a little picture of me in 2012. This was at the height of my really high crash. And I look pretty, I look really depleted. I was very depressed and anxious and, sick. Basically, I was off work. And over here, this is 2017, after I'd healed a lot of my symptoms. And yeah, that's a selfie, bit of a big nose. But apart from that, yeah, the sun's shining and I look pretty healthy. But I was much, much better, much more healed. Here, I was really, really gutted. I was very, very sick. So it took me quite a few years to get from there to here. And I kept healing after that. And now I just live a really healthy regime and keep my body very healthy. I sleep well. I've got really amazing diet. It's mostly plant-based. I don't eat gluten, dairy, and I maybe have a very occasional alcohol. I spend a lot of time in nature and walking, doing good exercise. And I lost weight. Well, I lost that. Where did I lose that? I lost that in about 2014. I lost that when I got onto a better diet, and I've never put it on again. So my weight is, for the first time in, sort of many years, exactly where I want it to be. Pretty much all of my life up until that time had been up and down with weight. Okay, so now we're going to get straight into the 7 essential principles that support and are the foundation of your health. So the first one is that you are bio-individual. So what does that mean? That means that there's no generic diet or program out there that is going to help you in the long term, because your body is unique. So the keto diet, all of these kinds of quick fixes, get out there, do that. Yes, you may lose weight. You may lose it for 6 months, a year, but after 2 years, if you're still doing a very high-fat diet, there's consequences, and the weight usually comes back on. It's not something that you maintain. So the second thing that's really important is that we need to develop a relationship with our body. You do, with your body. And what that means is that we need to experiment with different foods, supplements, and activities. And we need to examine what's actually going on in our body. What are the symptoms in our body? And we do that through journaling and really observing what we eat, how that affects us, how is our sleep and how we deal with that. All of our exercise and how we deal with that. So we need to get this much better relationship with our body. Okay, we need to know, this is really important, this one, they all are, but this is super important. We need to know the root cause of any symptoms that we've got, because that equals 60% of our healing. Just having clarity about what's causing things leads to a state of healing, because the rest is just knowing what to do. And that's something that I'm going to teach you about in this webinar. At least some of the things that you need to know, I will be teaching you. The fourth thing is that you need to become your own health advocate. So what does that mean? That means that if you're going to go to doctors, if you're going to be working with practitioners, and if you're going to go down this track, you need to be able to read all the labels on foods in supermarkets or wherever to see what's in them and what you don't want in your body. And that's a lot of preservatives and a lot of sugar. And I mean sugar by saying processed sugar, or sugar that you don't know doesn't come from whole foods, like fruit. Fruit sugar is good, it's fine, but then there's other sugar like beet sugar and corn sugar, and those things all have GMO products. They're GMO products. So you've really got to learn how to be your own health advocate and learn to read labels and learn to speak to doctors in a collaborative way and ask questions and be prepared, and to also do that with practitioners and to explain that you want to be a participant in your healing with any sort of doctors that you work with. We need to learn what nourishes us and what makes us thrive and what to avoid. So this is really, really important as well. So we do that by understanding what does nourish us, both in our life, both in our nutrition. So we need to know what makes us thrive in our life, and perhaps anything nutritionally that makes you thrive. And we need to know what to avoid. For people with autoimmunes, we know by now that we need to avoid gluten, dairy, and probably not eggs, but yes, eggs are really important to avoid as well. So we need to find out individually what we might need to avoid. You may have allergies, you may have sensitivities, and it's really worth finding out through experimenting what those are, and also observation, self-observation. Okay, we need to change our behaviours step by step. That is really important when we're changing our health for the long term. If we go and do these quick fixes, we're not doing things step by step and in little bits over time. But if you do the real healing, you would do it step by step over time, because that's how you change your behaviours for good. It's about time and steps. Okay, and finally, I'd love to say to you that it's really important to connect with nature. Nature is the greatest healer. It is also our mirror. So it mirrors back to us who we really are. It is we operate at the same frequency, if you like, of hertz with nature. That's Hertz. That means that we're resonating at the same frequency with nature. So when we go into nature, we can tap into what it has to offer us. And sometimes we need to just go there and look at trees, birds. I look at bees and things in my garden, and that connection is very, very healing. Okay. So, yes, we've done this a little bit before, but here's another point along the way in this webinar, to just feel like you can be healed, to know that you can become all of those principles. You can use that as your foundation to go further with your health. And if you can imagine a life, perhaps it's hard for you at the moment, maybe you've been sick for a long time, where you have full health and far less stress, then you know that you're going to get there. If you do the right things, over time things will change and you will heal. You can even find peace through nature. So you will understand that there is life beyond illness. For anybody here who has a mystery illness, we can move towards healing. Everybody can heal over time. So now we're going straight into the heavy duty and putting the microscope on symptoms and root causes. So if you've got low energy and exhaustion, that can be because of three main things. One of them is malnutrition, The second one is adrenal fatigue or running adrenaline, and I'll go into that in more detail. And the other one can be an axis between adrenal and thyroid problems. This is very, very common because those two things are both part of the endocrine system. So what is malnutrition? Stepping back here. Well, malnutrition doesn't mean you're a starving child in a developing country. What it means is that you may be eating too much of the wrong foods, like processed foods, foods with a lot of preservatives in them, not enough vegetables, not enough fruits, not enough whole foods. And you may be skipping meals, and then you can be definitely malnutritioned. And that can cause low energy and exhaustion. So there's a number one thing that you need to sort of look at if that's you. With your adrenals and the thyroid, if you are stressed, if you're running stress in your life, if you're prone to stress, then your adrenals are going to take a hit. And that means your energy is going to drop. Your blood sugar is going to drop. So you will have these highs and lows in your day. You might be high in the evening, and I'll go into this a bit more later. You may be low in the morning and after lunch. These are some of the clues that your adrenals needs to be looked after. Again, mystery weight gain, liver and adrenals. It's a combination. If you're having a lot of stress, then your adrenaline is going straight into your liver, and it has to be stored and dealt with there. When that happens, you can be quite overburdened. Your liver becomes overburdened, and together that can then start to create this mystery weight gain on your body. There are other things that also contribute to that, and we'll get into that. Right now, I want you to understand that the liver is the key area to look after and attend to when you've got mystery weight gain. Okay, so skin conditions. Yes, like this woman here who's got, that could be eczema, it could be acne. They're both part of problems with the liver. Then there's psoriasis, there's eczema. Any kind of skin condition is all about dermatoxins, which are coming out of the liver into the bloodstream, and they're surfacing on the skin. So any kind of skin condition that you see on your body or anybody in your family, you know it's related to a problem with the liver. And again, the liver is where many problems spring from. Okay, so brain fog. Okay, well, it's not just about menopause, and it is happening to people young and older, and it's largely due to a combination of heavy metals, which are things like mercury, lead, aluminium, cadmium, and petrochemicals, and things like that that are being stored in the body. And the primary place where they get stored is in the liver. And then once they're there, they can be released and go through the blood-brain barrier straight into the brain, and they can cause neurotoxins. And neurotoxins can lead to brain fog, brain freeze, vertigo, other things like epilepsy, and it just depends on what kind of heavy metals are in the body. Different heavy metals often react with each other. So there are a whole lot of different permutations around heavy metals can occur. Also, if you are very, very sensitive to smell, that is an indication that you've got heavy metals that you need to remove out of the body. And they can be removed, and that is part of the work that I do and other practitioners that work with the medical medium protocols. We know how to safely remove heavy metals and viral matter from the body. So the neurotoxins come in the sense of different viruses, the herpes virus family, that hide in the liver. And those neurotoxins are in the brain, and they can cause lots of issues. Oh, the other one is tinnitus. in the ear. That's that ringing in the ear that is caused by neurotoxins in the brain from viruses. Right. I guess for some of you right now, this is news. This is new information. So high blood pressure is also due to a sluggish liver. That's because when your liver is burdened down with metals, viruses, petrochemicals, toxins, pesticides, and so on, your blood can become dirty, because that's what's happening. It's in the liver getting filtered, but it cannot, if the liver's sluggish, it cannot clean the blood properly. So then the heart has to pump from the liver, and it's harder to pump, and that causes blood pressure to become high. So hot sweats, night flashes, that can be due to liver heat and sluggish liver as well. And it's not just about menopause either, and we know then that's another liver problem. Brittle hair and nails, cracked feet, sluggish liver. So there's about 200 or more symptoms that equal a sluggish liver. So I think that kind of makes it pretty clear, doesn't it? Okay, so the liver, let's look at it in a bit more detail. 9 out of 10 people have a sluggish liver. So that's another reason to start looking at your liver. There is 200 plus symptoms. It is due to toxins, plastics now, because the world is so full of plastic, adrenaline, viruses, heavy metals, dioxins, which are all the dyes, the nasty dyes that are in many products, papers and all sorts of products. Dyes are in anything. They can be in plastics, they can be in all sorts of things. DDT, that's been around and has not left the planet for many, many years, and that is a really serious, nasty one, and we do have that present in our livers. Pesticides and overburden of fat. If people have been eating a lot of fat, a lot of animal protein, they can fill their liver with fat, and that interferes with the ability, it's called fatty liver. So that interferes with the ability for the liver to perform, and the liver can be fat before diagnosis of fatty liver. So I just want you to know that fatty liver and pre-fatty liver is the only test that doctors can currently test for. They cannot test for a sluggish liver, and you can still have a lot of problems when you've got a sluggish liver. So too much leads to overload and low storage, and the liver struggles. It's just imagine a whole lot of storage boxes, hexagonal shaped storage boxes, which have all got to store various things that go into the liver, and imagine them all just getting burdened and very full, just because of the world that we live in. And this is all because of the last industrial revolution, where petrochemicals were discovered and we just started to use them for everything. And all of this started to grow in on our planet and to affect our health. So I talked about the blood. Here's a book that is fabulous. And for anyone who wants to get into this and is self-learning and wants to tackle it on their own, this book is fantastic. It's good for anyone who might want help as well and getting this book. Let's talk about energy. So let's say you're waking up exhausted, you've got drops in energy after lunch, you're hyper-energized in the evening. That all points to adrenal fatigue. It's pretty much what it's going to be. It's primarily caused by prolonged stress and overuse of adrenaline. So as I said, there's two things that can be happening. You can be having stress for a while and then worsening your adrenals and putting pressure on them, and then you've got adrenal fatigue and you may stop, or you can be running adrenaline, as in using it and addicted to it, using it every day, and have both adrenal fatigue and you're still using the adrenaline, and that's causing other problems. That dumps into the liver if you're running adrenaline, where, as I said, it mixes with the heavy metals to cause those other dermatoxins on the body. So there's a couple of things to think about. So mystery weight gain, what's going on there? Well, we talk about weight that's going on mostly around the middle here. You can also have fluid retention. So what's that? That's called edema. And edema is when the lymphatic system, which is all throughout the body, is not functioning well. It's struggling as well. And when the liver's struggling, what tends to happen is that the lymphatic system starts to struggle as well. So this can be another step that it starts to happen. And you know when you've got, when you're retaining fluids, because your ankles start to swell, hands start to swell, you can get a puffy face, things like that. So that's another thing that comes when you heal the liver. It helps the lymphatic system. So very, very important. And if you cannot lose weight easily, then that is another indication that you've got to start working on the liver. So it's primarily caused by the slight sluggish or hot liver, plus the clogged up lymphatic system. You can get hot sweats, fatigue, weight gain, and brain fog as part of this, as well as the weight gain. I'm going to talk about gut issues now, and I really want to talk about the digestive system in completion, not just gut issues by themselves, but I want to talk about things that manifest in the gut. And you've probably heard of SIBO, candida overgrowth, and irritable bowel syndrome. Well, they're three conditions that have labels, and what I'd like to say is that while you're experiencing symptoms like bloating, nausea, and cramping, it's not really, they're not the root cause. It's an undiagnosed Streptococcus species bacteria. And I know this because this is a very tricky bacteria. It can go all over the body, and it certainly loves being in the gut and causing havoc. And SIBO is just an unknown bacteria. They don't know what it is. Well, it's actually Streptococcus. Candida overgrowth is usually been blamed, but it's not really the main culprit. It can get overgrowth, but it's more likely to be Streptococcus. And irritable bowel syndrome is just really the symptoms happening in the body. So this is what I know about Streptococcus. You can get it in your gut, you can get it in your respiratory system, in your urinary tract, and it tends to hide out in the liver, and it also tends to appear in the gut and cause a lot of havoc. So it's really, really, really common. It's very easy to get. Just about everybody on the planet has had Streptococcus at some point, and the antibiotics today, virtually it's a superbug, so it's hard to use antibiotics and to fix it. So there are multiple strains, and sometimes people have it very seriously and other times not very serious. So with the overuse of antibiotics, that's what's made it hard to get rid of, because it is almost a superbug, and eating lots of fat is not a good idea when you have Streptococcus. So you know, that's something to keep in mind, and know that it is hard to test for. But if you've got a respiratory condition, a urinary tract infection, if you've had those and you keep getting them, or anything happening with your bladder, women, you'll know what I mean, then this is what you need to do, is find out more about how to do this. And as I said, there'll be a liver protocol that I'm going to give you. And what that means is that you will be also, that liver protocol will be getting rid of this fellow here, Streptococcus. So another thing that happens in the digestive system is heartburn or reflux, and that occurs mostly in the stomach up here. And that's when our hydrochloric acid drops. And if you're over 40, then it's likely that you've lost some of your acid performance in your stomach. And what the acid, our stomach has to be really acidic, because that's where all the yuck things go, and, you know, that we eat, and then it's got to really work with those. So if you're eating a lot of preservatives, the stomach has to do something with those, you know, sort of break them down into something, and then they go into the liver. So you don't want that happening, but that's what the hydrochloric acid is there for, breaking down fats and those other things that go in there that are unwanted in the body. Fats and proteins. So if, like I said, at about 40 years of age, if we haven't got our full complement of hydrochloric acid, we're going to get things like reflux, burping, and heartburn. And a lot of people take those tablets that you buy at the pharmacist. Well, they don't actually heal you. They just block the stomach from the gas from going up into your esophagus, and you experiencing heartburn and so forth. So that's why I say the root cause is really important to nail, and it's also then clear how to fix it. So you've got to rebuild your hydrochloric acid, and we're going to get into that in a minute. Okay, so how do you get your energy back? All right, we're talking about the adrenal glands here. You need to eat every 1.5 to 2 hours. You need to have snacks of things like celery, apples, and date together because they have sodium, potassium, and sugar from fruit, which is good for you. That will help your blood sugar to normalize, and it will support and protect the adrenals. So that's what I suggest you do, is have healthy snacks. You could have avocado, spinach, and an apple. You could have bananas, berries, cherries, kiwi fruit, mango, and more. The important thing is to get some good sugars into your body because your adrenals need it, your blood sugar needs it, and that is going to help. So you then get plenty of rest and sleep. Gentle exercise such as yoga and meditation. You need to hydrate, and hydrate. So that means that we're mostly dehydrated, and you need to actually make sure you're really well hydrated. I'm having a quick drink now, and you can do that too. That's better. So that's a bit of a protocol there for healing and looking after your adrenals. It takes time. If you've really whacked them, it does take time. And you need to make sure you're not over-exercising. You're making sure you have those snacks every 1 to 2 hours and that you're resting. So here now is the liver protocol. So this is good for healing IBS and healing the liver and the digestive system, including the stomach as well, and healing your hydrochloric acid problem if you have it. Lower your fat intake. Eat less animal protein. So there's fat in animal protein everywhere, and then there's fat in plant ways as well, avocado, nuts, and different oils. So it goes for both those two areas. So nuts, if you're a vegan, then a lot of vegans eat a lot of fat. Well, that's only going to cause problems later on. But right now, if you want to heal your liver, you want to go lower. And so eat, perhaps if you're going to eat meat or fish or any animal protein once a day, and make your portions much smaller. You need to eat more vegetables and fruit and leafy greens to the amount of 70% on your plate. Eat less dairy, gluten, and eggs, and trend towards removal, particularly if you have a known disease. And eggs would be great to take out straight away. There's a good reason for that, and that is because they're pure hormones. And a lot of these autoimmune diseases and other diseases relate to viruses in the body, and viruses actually consume the hormones from the eggs. And there's more to learn about that, and in Anthony Williams' books he teaches a lot about that. But right now you just need to know that eggs are something to remove if you've got an autoimmune disease. You lower your alcohol intake. You hydrate more. I mentioned that before. That's really, really important to maximize your hydration. You lower your salts and you eat more raw food. So salads with cooked food. Now, if you can't tolerate too much raw, have a little salad with cooked food. If you can, eat more raw foods, eat more salads, and have, like I do, raw until 4. So I'll have no cooked food at breakfast, and I'll have a beautiful big spinach soup, raw spinach soup for lunch, and then I'll start having some cooked food at night. But you need to eat a lot more raw food when you're eating it to maintain calories. But if you want to lose weight, that's a good way to do it as well. So how do we heal the whole body systems? We do it, we heal the digestive system, the adrenals, the cardiovascular, the lymphatic system, the kidneys, the nervous system, and the immune system. And we do all of that through doing certain things. And it's healing the liver and drinking celery juice every day, if we can. Now, this is hard in Australia at the moment because we've got a drought, which means that there's a shortage of organic celery. But you can use conventional. It just has to be washed really, really well, and use organic whenever you can. Drinking celery juice daily is for people who really, really want to heal. Now, you can get results in 2 weeks if you do this. It can take longer to heal very complex things, and if you've got multiple problems, but it is something that heals skin conditions. It heals everything. It heals, like I said, all of the body systems, and it is a miracle. And there's a new book coming out just on celery juice, and in fact in the US there are companies now selling celery juice in jars, bottles, and you can buy 6 at once just to heal your body. Well, that is a reflection of how this is taking on in the world, across the world. But I would say fresh celery juiced by you is by far better than buying 6 jars of it that come from a supermarket or wherever they're selling them. In the US at the moment, not in Australia, because they've aged and all of the goodness is in the freshness of it. So you need to eat more leafy greens, vegetables and fruits. I've said this once, I'm saying it again. You need to follow the liver healing protocol, or a program that you get from reading some of Anthony's work, and that is, or working with me or someone like me that can really guide you through this whole healing process. Okay, so now is a moment for anybody there to give me some feedback about what you've learned and whether it was important, or what was the most important thing. First up, if you can give me some feedback on what's the most important thing that you've learned today, and then perhaps let me know if there's something that I've shared with you today that you're going to now use in your life. So that would be fantastic. Okay, so we're going to move on to what's next. Okay, so I'd like to start sharing with you some of my work and how my programs work and who I am and what I do. So just bringing it back to you now here, if you do think that you are someone who would like some support in your healing, and you're sick and tired of being sick and it's been going on for quite a while, here is this link again. You can certainly book in with me for a 45-minute health review where you can learn more about your health, and that's complimentary, and you can also learn more about how I work just by being on that call and by things that I will discuss with you. So that's there, and as I say, there's no obligation. I like to help as many people as I can on this planet, and I also like to work with people longer term in my programs because I love to see the transformation that people actually make. So now we're going to just really go into how my programs work, and you can then see exactly what my methodology is. So I bring all of my principles together into these programs, and there are 3 of them. There's the 3-month program, there's the 6-month program, and there's a 9-month program. And it follows a logical sequence these programs. So if you've got a little bit of weight that you want to lose, or not much, sorry, a little bit of weight and maybe one or two symptoms, and maybe you haven't been very unwell for very long, a 3-month program is good for you. If you've got a few more symptoms and a bit more weight that you want to lose, or maybe you've had symptoms for 3 to 7 years, and a 6-month program is going to be better for you. It takes longer to heal the longer you've been crook. So then the other thing is, if you've had been crook for over 10 years and had a complex number of things going on and a bit of more weight to lose, then I would highly recommend a 9-month program. But they all follow this pattern. We have a very, very thorough intake session where we establish what the root cause of the symptoms are. This session is an hour and a half long, and then it's followed by sessions for either 3 months, 6 months, or 9 months that is 60 minutes each. And there's 2 sessions a month. So if you're working with me for 3 months, it's 6 sessions all again, because two sessions, including, the 90-minute, that's 6 altogether. That means 6 in 3 months of a program. Then what we do, I'll talk about this a bit more, about the 6 and the 9 as we go through. Then what we do once we've had that intake is we set our goals and intentions. We establish these, and we do a food mood journal. And this is about understanding your current diet and your current habits, like your sleep, what your stools are like, what your digestive system is like, what your hydration is like. So we see from that, it's about a 7-day journal, you get to see all the patterns and symptoms that are occurring. And then we sort of discuss that and we can get started. We start to do these step-by-step changes, and we don't overburden oneself in doing too much too fast. There's a journal that you can keep and review. We implement nutritional changes. We look at the pantry and the fridge and we sort that out. And we look at recipes, handouts, and support, because it's a high support time is in this step here. And it continues. My work is very much about giving support between sessions. So I am a high support helper guidance person. That is why what I know I needed, and that is why I give that level of support, or anything that people need in between their sessions. Okay, so at a halfway point, there's a little bit of a mini review of what's going on. We might want to reframe our goals, bring in other lifestyle and emotional health areas to work on, and we just continue on and we agree on the actions. And then we also move into doing more and deeper work in the program, and that can involve the emotional and lifestyle changes. And we just keep ploughing through it to reach the goals and intentions of what you want to learn and do. At the end, there's a transformation, whether it be small or large, depending on what your conditions are. We have a final review and a journey this is a journey that we both do. The client, whoever it is, does a review themselves of what they think they've achieved, and I do my review of what I think you've achieved, and then we put them both together, because then we get a complete and full view of all of the benefits that you've gained. And that's the truth of the work that you've done when you come on board, and if you come on board. So we examine the full extent of this transformation, and then we establish a plan and a way forward. So just to be clear, my programs offer specific foods, herbs, and supplements. It's always step by step for long-term change, so that you can have your own health insurance for the best rest of your life. You get a lot of support via text, messenger, or email through between the months, the sessions, and there's 2 every month, so you get a lot of support. There's a halfway review. There are continuing changes. There are full notes There's recipes and handouts, and also with anyone who might want to work with me that you have some tricky disease or illness, there's a lot of support from my global practitioner group that we all share and support each other. All right, so let's just think about what would stop in your life, what would stop being a problem in your life if you got really, really healthy. Well, you would stop a lot of worry, pain and ongoing issues for a start. So once you lose your weight, you've got this wonderful nutritional diet that you can maintain because it's just eating really good food. That all the worry and concern would stop because you'd be on the right track. You just keep going, and yes, you'd stop wasting time on fads and trends and quick fix diets. You know exactly what you've got to do, so you'd be your own health advocate. You'd stop spending money on things that don't get results. You'd stop worrying about what could really be wrong with you and whether you're going to crash and get a life-threatening disease. You'd stop the exhaustion and the low energy for those symptoms. You'd stop going backwards. You'd replace it all with life-changing health and energy. And going to doctors, you'd stop. That'd have a whole different meaning. Instead of being sort of subservient and following what doctors and believing everything, you would be instead honouring them and knowing that they're there to help, but you would be collaborating and you would be both working together for the same results. So, as I said, one of the key things that I'm known for is maximum support by providing you with long-term, life-changing health. So those two ingredients, the step-by-step and the maximum support and all of the knowledge that I bring together for physical and emotional and mental health, is where the transformation takes place. So we're going to just quickly look at these three programs, the 3, 6, 9 month programs again. So I said that each of them has a 1 times 90-minute intake session, and that the rest of them, if you're doing this can be a bit confusing. So if you're doing a 3-month program, you get this session plus 5 more over 3 months, 2 a month. If you're doing a 6-month, you get 12 sessions, this one plus 11. And if you're doing a 9-month program, you get 18 altogether, this one plus 17 more. And they are all 60-minute programs, 60-minute sessions, and they're fortnightly. You get notes and recommendations for each session from me, handwritten notes. You get support in between sessions of any amount that you need. You get help from my global practitioner group if that's required, and sometimes and often it quite is, and we get extra support. Okay, so what do my programs cost? Here it is. Well, the 3-month program is valued at $3,450. If we break all of the components down in there, that's how much it would add up to. But my fee is $2,000 for a 3-month program. And as I said, that's good for people who have maybe 1 or 2 symptoms, a little bit of weight, maybe up to 4 kgs to lose, 3 or 4, and they haven't been cooked for very long. The 6-month program is valued at $6,600, and my fee for that is $3,500. It is not double the 3-month program because in the 3-month program we tend to have to go a lot faster to get things done. So, you know, think about that if you're thinking about really creating, you know, a really long-term health program. 6 months is often better because, you know, it's the main one, it's the main program, because it's a good length of time to really change behaviour. The 9-month program is great for people who've been cooked for up to 10 years, want to lose about 10 to 12 kgs, and might not even want to lose weight, but if they do, that's part of it. And if they've been sick for 10 years and have about 3 to 5 different types of symptoms. So that's 5,300 for my fee. I have payment plans available that could be discussed if you'd like to look further into this. Just want to say that I've done online programs before and nothing worked for me because it wasn't individual. I spent quite a bit of money doing that. So remembering that you are all bio-individual. So if you're thinking that you'd like to work with me, one of the important things to remember is that I tailor my programs for the individual. So you're getting your bio-individuality looked after 100%. And that, to me, is great for people who can, afford to work with me. So, and even if you can't, but maybe you can do it via payment plan, that's good. So what I want to do is just tell you that the 45-minute complimentary call with me will help you to make a decision, and it will explain whether we're a good fit for each other. It's really important that you're committed and that we work well together, and that's a chance to see how we do work together. And which you come away from that knowing which of these programs, the 3, 6 or 9, would work best for you. So none of these are a quick fix program. They are designed to lead to permanent change, and you need to be ready and committed, and you need to want the help, and you need to also understand that it happens in a very step-by-step way so that you can actually manage that change. So when everything works together, we're in life and we're living to our maximum. I spent my life putting on and taking off weight until I was 53. Can you imagine that I finally ditched Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, powder diets and all that sort of stuff. And I only really began to love myself when I stopped eating processed sugar and lost that weight. And I started eating as much fruit as I wanted, and I never put on any weight. I have been my right weight since I was 53, and I'm a bit older than that now. So I am really, really comfortable in my skin, and I have no body issues. My body is something I love, and I guess I'm a lot more upright. I'm not so hunched over, sort of concerned about how I look. But it's never changed. My weight is my perfect weight, and I'm really comfortable. I don't feel yuck. I just feel amazing, to be honest, in my body. When I found out what was behind my illness, my body and emotional illness, I was switched on to it. The moment I found out what was really causing it, everything changed. I was ready to do what I needed to do to heal. The lights went on and I tuned in to make those changes. And this all propelled me forward. And as I said, root cause resolution, knowing it is really important. When this happened to me, everything changed in my life. And the step-by-step enables your true behaviour change. This is your insurance. This is your own personal insurance for your health if you go this way. So this creates a life that doesn't have a yo-yo experience and disappointment. You no longer have disappointment in yourself when you get this transformation, because you can live the rest of your life in a healthy, well state. So for my programs to work, you must be wanting a lifelong health and healing. You must want to be content with yourself and want to get on with your life. This really is about ditching the old and bringing in the new for the long term. You will have your knowledge. You will be your own health advocate, because I will give you that knowledge and experience and the principles, and most importantly, your own health practice. You will be well established if you work with me, particularly for 6 and 9 months, 6 and 9 months. You will be so well established with your knowledge, your practice of your health and wellness, that you will be able to live a long and healthy life that you've made that transformation. So from there, again, there's that little pop-up about reviewing it. But I just want to thank you and for being here and truly being open to learning and moving the needle forward on your health and your wellness. And taking this step is, I know that to take this step is not done lightly. So thank yourself for coming, and I hope that you've got some good value out of this. And the next step for anyone who's sitting there thinking, I really need some help, is to take action and book in that chat with me and find out more. And for everyone, I will be sending the replay. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.